Hello, and thank you once again for tuning into my podcast, Outside the Box, with me, Stephanie K, aka Sage the Coach, where I aim to help people see that God is bigger than the boxes that we typically put Him in, and a variety of different topics, scenarios, struggles, questions, things like that. I came up with the idea for this podcast because I know, as somebody who's been a Christian for about 20 years, there was a lot of things that I struggled with, and I just needed more insight, more questions, more direction, more guidance, and I didn't find it a lot of the times, honestly. And so I just wanted to kind of be a light or a voice to help people to be able to find some of the guidance that I was not able to find sometimes, or went through a lot of steps or a lot of stumbling blocks before I found for myself. And so that's kind of how I kind of came up with the topic of this podcast. And so, for those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Stephanie K, aka Sage the Coach. The coach title is because I am a multi-certified life and relationship coach. I actually just recently got got 4 more certifications, which brings me to a total of 10 life coaching certifications. So and I should be getting my master coaching certification too here very soon. And so I'm really big on helping people to not only understand God in different scenarios and understand how He kind of the different ways in which He works in our difficult circumstances that we don't always realize. But I like to also do that from a personal coaching perspective, as far as personal development, relationship development. Those are kind of like my specialties. But anyway, so not to get too much into that. Today I want to talk about something that has been that's always on my mind, to be honest with you. It's called the battle of the sexes. Because I see like a lot of this tension that's building up between men and women, and I just wanted to discuss it. But before I get into that topic, I just want to let you all know that you can watch my show on Fridays at 12:30 p.m. I switched the time a couple weeks ago, but now I'm back to 12:30. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing. But I'm back to 12:30 on Fridays, 12:30 p.m. And you can follow me. Please subscribe, like, share. Follow me on YouTube, Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Yes. And then I saw this new platform called Trends that's connected with Instagram now. I'm thinking about getting on that. I'm not sure. I'm not a huge fan of social media, so the more social media accounts, the more of a headache to me. So I really didn't want to have to deal with that, but I might get on there because I think X is not going to last very much longer, but I'm not sure. So make sure you like, follow, and share. You can also watch episodes of my podcast on Roku, Google Play Store, and the Apple Store via an app called the Entertainment Theater app. The owner there, or the app, is for independent creators. You can also reach out to the owner yourself to see about getting your own stuff on there if there's something that you're interested in. But make sure you like and share my content as well as support the Entertainment Theater app by downloading. There are a lot of other stuff on there, just not mine. A lot of other podcasts, independent creator shows, movies, things like that. So check it out. So back to the topic at hand, the battle of the sexes. So sometimes I kind of like to go into why I want to talk about this. So the reason why I want to talk about the battle of the sexes is because, when you just see social media, and not just on social media just makes the internet in general just makes stuff that has always been going on more visible. It helps us be more aware of it. So like I talked about in the past, like, a lot of people, especially Black people, it seems like the killing for Black people by the police was escalating in these last few years, but I don't really think it was escalating. I think the internet just made us more aware of it. Other times when stuff like that happened, it was easier to just sweep it under the rug, make it seem like death under mysterious circumstances, blah blah blah. But the internet, now that everybody has um, computers in their pockets and cameras and videos, it's just we're becoming more aware of something that's always been there. So it's the same thing when it comes to relationships. Like, we're just becoming more aware of mentalities and behaviors and habits in relationships that have always been there because of the internet. So I do see the internet as making me more aware of it. But these things are already been here, and I've seen them in my everyday life too, and other people's relationships that are around me, my own relationships. And so it's nothing new. But you see it a lot. All this tension between like men and women. And one of the things that made me kind of think about this topic recently is because I was watching videos on Instagram, and you see a lot of videos with like men mocking women, making it seem like women are a headache and women are this, women are that. Like, it was one video that I saw about this deaf man that was supposed to be like getting his hearing for the first time. And I don't know if you've seen those videos, you're like, oh, it's so special, it's a tear jerker. And the doctor's like, can you hear me? And the man is like, yes, I can hear you. And he starts crying. And immediately after he says all that, his wife that's sitting next to him just starts talking and like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy. And she's just talking and talking, and she's thanking the doctor. And then the guy that supposedly just got his hearing is like, oh my goodness, I don't want to hear this for the rest of my life. This is annoying. This is terrible. And he's complaining to the doctor that the sound of her voice, and he's getting really irritated with her, and so it was funny. I'm not gonna lie, it was funny. I tend to not be like that uptight to where I don't know how to take a joke, but it was funny. But underneath that is something that's actually not funny. And if you go into the comments of that video, you can see that there's some stuff going on that's not funny. Some women was taking it like, wow, this woman has been by his side. Clearly, she married him when he has a disability. She's at the doctor's with him. She's holding his hand, and she's just excited that he can hear. And look how he's acting towards her. Like, she's just a nuisance. She gets on his nerves. He doesn't want to hear her voice. Like, that's very hurtful. And it's true. Like, so when you're laughing at these jokes, especially men, it's very easy to not understand stuff from the other person's perspective. And I think one of the problems that we have in a lot of our relationships, not just romantic ones, but I do think it's a little bit more of an issue with romantic ones, is assuming that people are like us. So if you're a woman and you're emotional, you just kind of assume that a man is like you, or if he's not like you, he should be like you. And men do the same thing. So you're not very emotional, you're more logical, and you just assume, or you want women to be more like you. So, and this goes back to something that I've talked about many, many times, and I use it a lot in my coaching and my courses, is that how you treat people is more of a reflection about you than it is about the other person. So because you are logical, then you reflecting that onto the other person, and you feel like they should be logical too. Or you more emotional, you reflect it. So everything that we do is a reflection of who we are, and we're simply reflecting ourselves into the other person. So a lot of times when you have conflicts in relationships, what you're seeing is a reflection of you, and you have to deal with that first. You have to deal with the part of the problem that's simply you reflecting something. Deal with that first, and it frees you up to now deal with the actual issue. Because a lot of times when I say stuff like that, people might get the impression that everything you think is an illusion and it's just you, and you need to no. There could be a solid, legitimate problem there, but you have to deal with the reflection, the thing that you're reflecting first, before you can actually get to the problem. It's almost like looking at something through a cloudy or dirty window. But then once you deal with the part where you're reflecting, because everybody's doing it, it's impossible not to do it. And so once you deal with that part, it's almost like you just clean the window up, so now that you can see a little bit more clearly and you can deal with the problem without as much distractions and interference from the other stuff that's kind of playing a role into it. And so we like to, so back to the video. So the guy, so there women there were getting offended and getting hurt by the man's reaction to the woman and saying that it was really mean. Even though I watched it and laughed, my comment was, men are always making it seem like women are annoying. Like, like I can't tell you the videos that I've seen on social media with men just acting like women are annoying, women are a nuisance, women are interfering with their freedom, they feel imprisoned by their relationships, stuff like that. And it's funny on the surface, but really it points to a bigger problem between men and women that a lot of times filters into our relationships. And that's why I want to call it battle of the sexes, because it's on both sides. It's not just men, it's not just women. It's on both sides where people are kind of bringing a lot of these misconceptions and these ideas and these hurts and these pains and into their relationships, and then they wonder why they don't work. They wonder why they keep having these repeated problems, repeated failures in their relationships, because they're not getting to the roots of the problem. And so there's like, a battle between the sexes. And personally, me, every time I see this, whether it's men or women, I think it's very, very sad. And so since I talked about the video with the guy kind of teasing the woman about her voice, there's other videos where I've seen women kind of bring men value down to money, that if a man can't do this for you or do that for you, he's not valuable. And so you see stuff like that a lot, or you even see, like with women, this very romanticized idea about what a good man is, and I'm not dealing with a man that doesn't do this and don't do that and does this, and they just feed off of each other and become a recipe for dysfunctional, unhappy, unhealthy relationships. And so again, you have it on both sides, and it's the battle of the sexes. And when I say that, what comes to my mind is that women having their ideas about how men should act and telling men how to be men, and then men having their idea about how women should act and telling women to be women. And it goes back and forth all the time. Like, if a man doesn't do this, he's not this. If a dude, and to be perfectly honest with you, and I could be totally biased on this, but I think men do it more, and I think they might do it more just because they're more logical, kind of domineering nature most of the time. Not all men are like that, but it seems like men are very, very quick to try to tell a woman how to be a woman. And it's like, if a woman doesn't do this, and I think men have it more in their mind, which you can take this from culturally or even biblically, that men feel like women are for them. So you need to fit what I want. I don't necessarily have to fit what you want. You need to fit what I want because you were made for me and you're my whatever. You're mine. I'm not necessarily yours. So you have to, like, I'm at the top. And even in Christianity, you see a lot of sexism within Christianity where men have this authoritative, like, I'm the head, you do what I say, and however you think, feel, whatever your talents, what your gifts are irrelevant when it comes to me, is a problem. Like, this whole thinking about men feeling like they are above and they don't have to listen to or care about or pay much attention to women. I will tell you now, it will never lead to a happy relationship. Never. So I see this a lot more with men. Now, again, I could be biased because I'm a woman, and so I've been on the receiving end of it more. But I do think men have a little bit of an issue about always trying to tell women how to be women. Like, really, yeah. Because you can't tell them how to be men, So they should tell us how to be women. So anyway, not to contribute to this battle of the sexes, because that's what it is. It becomes this argument back and forth about, no, you should do this, and no, you should do that, and no, you should do this, and no, you, and that will never lead to a happy relationship. It just doesn't work. And so what does work and what needs to work or what needs to change is that people need to stop looking at other people and look at themselves. And I know this is hard to do, especially when you have been hurt or you have some bad experiences with the opposite sex. But you have to understand, just like I said before, you contributed to that situation. And so you have to figure out, if you find yourself in a situation, even if it was abuse or anything like that, you need to take a step back, like I said, and figure out what it was in you that contributed to that situation, because you did. We all do. It doesn't mean you deserve to be abused. It doesn't mean you deserve to be mistreated. But if you don't address what you were reflecting into the situation to perpetuate it, then you're going to repeat the same thing in your next relationship. So you need to figure out how. So, for example, you might say, well, give me an example. If you have low self-esteem and you're looking for somebody to make you feel better about you, then that's going to make you the mentality of those people automatically attract more domineering people. And then when you attract those domineering people, you become subject to their abuse and their manipulation and stuff like that, because you came into the relationship looking for a dysfunctional thing. You cannot go into a relationship to have somebody help you make you feel better about you. That is dysfunctional. And when I say dysfunctional, what I mean is that you have a need that was created by trauma that you're now trying to get fixed. Well, let me rewind. You have a wound that was created by past trauma, and you're trying to use a relationship to fix that past trauma. You cannot do that, especially when the relationship was not the initial reason for the trauma. If anything, you have to go back to the source of where the trauma came from and deal with it there. That's why I said you got to deal with what you're reflecting, because you're reflecting your past trauma into the relationship. So you need to go back to the trauma and the relationship that caused the trauma and deal with it there, instead of expecting this person to fix it. Because I'll be honest with you, not only can they not fix it, and it's not their responsibility to fix it because they did not cause the original trauma, but sometimes even when they do cause the original trauma, they still don't fix it. They still can't fix it because they're messed up too. So you can't expect somebody who's messed up sometimes, who caused your trauma, to now help you fix your trauma, when the reason why they're messed up is because they're reflecting something into your relationship. And until they fix that thing that's wrong with them, they're not going to be able to adequately address, like I said, clean the window. They're not going to be able to clean the window enough to help you. So you see, so you can't do that in relationships. That makes them dysfunctional. You're trying to make a relationship function in a way that it was never meant to function. Relationships are to help us grow as human beings, to learn from one another. We're social creatures. We learn from our environment, and we learn from love. And so when you have an environment, actually you learn from any environment, whether it's loving or not loving. You just learn the wrong things when it's not loving. But we learn from our environment, we learn from our relationships, and you cannot grow in an atmosphere where you're by yourself, because your perspective is going to be limited. What you can learn is going to be limited. What you understand is going to be limited. And you just can't grow as a person without a relationship. So relationships are to help us grow, to help us stretch our understanding of love, patience, kindness, sacrifice, all these other things, boundaries. And without those, we don't learn those things. They're not to heal old wounds. They're not, And so you have to understand the difference between that. So now, can a relationship heal a wound? Yes. If it's a loving relationship and a person is patient and long-suffering with you and deal with you, especially from the love of God, can it heal you? Yes, but that's not its primary function, and you can't go into a relationship expecting that. So yeah, any questions about that, just feel free to reach out to me, because once again, I am a certified relationship coach. So yeah. So now to go back to like the whole battle of the sexes thing. So you have men and women trying to tell each other how to be men and women. The problem is you need to deal with yourself first. Like you have, because this is not what God created us to do. And this is why it makes me sad when I see this, is because I see how far off track we are from the original design that God created men and women to have. And I've given some examples that, and this is the best one I can come up with. If I come up with a better one, then I'll do that one later. But women are like forks, men are like spoons. We were made to go together. We were not made to be in competition with each other. There are things that a fork can do that a spoon can do, that a spoon can do that a fork can do. It is not to be in competition with each other, but to help each other achieve the goal of feeding somebody as a fork and spoon. You get it? So that's the goal. But when you guys work together to feed a person, that becomes your main goal. The focus is on the agenda, not on each other, in a sense where now you guys are competing and fighting. Like if a fork and spoon, if you sitting at your table ready to eat your dinner and your fork and spoon were so busy fighting each other that you can't use them to eat, nobody's getting anywhere. The spoon is not serving its purpose, the fork is not serving its purpose, and the person who wants to eat can't eat. You see what I'm saying? And I know it's a silly analogy, but I hope it gives you some clarity about what I mean. So when I see men and women competing with each other, fighting with each other, arguing with each other about who is this and who is that and who should be doing this and who should be doing that and women should be doing this and men should be doing, it really grieves my heart. Like it really makes me sad because we are so far from what God intended the male and female relationship to be like. To it makes perfect sense to me why the world is in the state that it's in, because the condition of the world is a reflection of the relationships between human beings. And if you want to even take it down another notch, it's families. The state of the world is a reflection of the families in the world. And the world is comprised of billions of families. And so when you put all those families together, you get a certain community. You will get a community, you will get an environment, you will get a country, you will get a. And so when you have these dysfunctional, messed up relationships, these strange ideas about what it means to be a man or a woman, then it gets reflected into our society and it creates these battles between sexes, and women feeling like that they have to fight men to be respected, and they have to do this to be independent, and they have to protect themselves because men, and then men feeling like women only want them for their money, and women don't listen, and women are naggy, and women try to control you, and it's just like, oh my goodness, it's a hot mess. It's a hot mess. And of course, divorce rates are high. Actually, even marriage rates are sinking. People are not, lasting very long in their relationships, and people are walking away from these things wounded, deeply wounded, because of the failure of a marriage or relationship and things like that. When we need to really take a step back and focus on self. We need to focus on self, because I will tell you this. I will point out to a man when he's doing something wrong, and I will point out the same thing to a woman when she's doing something wrong. I don't take sides just because I'm a woman, and I don't vilify men just because of their men and because I've been hurt by men, because I have been hurt by men. I've been hurt a lot by men, that it would be very easy for me to be a man hater. I mean, honestly, but I don't do that because I look at the bigger picture. I understand that it's not about my one relationship with this one guy or two guys or whatever. It's about what God created the relationships to be like and his purpose for making them. And what do I need to do to realign myself with that purpose, with that agenda? You can't do that if you're harboring something against men. If you have, these dysfunctional ideas about men or these bitter ideas about men, you can't do it. So you have to get yourself in line first, which means not only clearing up your heart, and I'm speaking this for both men and women. You have to get yourself in line first and realize where you're missing the mark. That's if you're interested in really trying to walk out God's plan for relationships instead of these jacked up ones that the world feeds us. I mean, they're getting worse. People are becoming more and more selfish, more and more dysfunctional. Even though we have technology now that helps us all be connected, people are more and more isolated, more and more lonely, because people are so busy now that people don't really have time to connect on the level that we require as human beings. And so even though we have all these superficial relationships and we can go on social media, we can chit chat, and to having deep relationships where people, you feel understood, where you feel validated, where you feel loved, where you get growth from, those relationships are becoming rarer. And so we need to get back to ourselves. So if we really want to walk out God's plan for relationships instead of the world, we have to cut out all the noise, all the opinions of videos telling you that men got to do this and men got to do that, and you did it. I mean, even the song I heard a few weeks ago, "Women Are Players Too," You need to cut out all the noise and really sit down and have a conversation with yourself and check yourself and say, okay, what is going on with me? Number one, you need to realize if you're harboring anything, because it's not fair. Just like it's dysfunctional for you to take your past relationships and bring them into your new relationships, it's not fair for you to hold other people or all men accountable for the hurt of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 experiences that you had. Because, and you might say, well, and this is for men and women, because there are men that are hurt by women too. And a lot of times you have women, because when they get into this mind frame of like vilifying men, they just see men as the predator all the time and forget that men can be victims too. And then men who have been mistreated by women just get into this idea that all men and all women are nothing but human beings. That's it. So anytime you make the statement, all men are human beings, all women are human beings, if you try to end that sentence with something else, it is automatically wrong and untrue. There is no, all of women are not one way, all of men are not one way. The same way all black people are not one way, all white people are not one way, our Asian people are not one way, all children are not one way. Like, this is very narrow-minded and honestly ignorant thinking, to think all of anybody is anything. They're all of everybody. The only thing everybody is a human being. That's it. So you cannot walk away from this idea of like, because men hurt me, men hurt me, men hurt me, that all of men are like this. That is a lie from the devil, and you have to acknowledge it and cope with it in a different way, because it's dysfunctional. All men, even if you have been hurt by 10 men or men hurt by 10 women, that is still a very small population of the entire planet. Like, you still cannot say all women, even if you want to say all black women, all white, they are still not all that way. And you have to leave room in your mind for that rationale, because it is just not true. It's just not. And you're putting yourself in a box and in a bubble that's not going to serve you at all. It actually helps you to be not only bitter, but perpetuate the problem between men and women, because now you're walking around with this, all women is one way, so you feel justified in however you choose to act or respond, even though a lot of times it's not justified, because that person did not do that to you. We all should be judged according to what we do, not what somebody else did 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago in closed doors, in the open. I mean, it's just not fair. Nobody wants to be judged like that, but everybody judges people like that. So it's kind of weird. But anyway, so no matter how many people hurt you, male or female, it's not right to have that type of mentality about them. And you have to, again, step back and take a look at yourself and see if you're doing that, if you're holding people accountable for things that other people did. Now, mind you, to some extent, it's normal, especially if your mother hurt you or your father hurt you and stuff like that. And then you have these ideas developed within yourself, basically, that's rooted in trauma. It's understandable, but go get help. Don't punish not just yourself, but all other people from that, gender because of it. You need to go get some help. You need to deal with yourself. You need to work with yourself. You need to heal, honestly. And so that's the first thing you need to do. Second thing is, you need to figure out what it means to be a man or a woman. Because one thing that I always laugh about when it comes to men trying to tell women how to be women and women trying to tell men how to be men is that you can't tell anybody anything, because that's not you. Like, I cannot tell a man how to be a man. I did not create men. A man cannot tell a woman how to be a woman. He did not create women. So anything you say that makes you feel like you can tell a woman how to be a woman is your opinion. Is your opinion. Unless you were the maker of that thing, then you cannot just prescribe or describe how it should function, because there is just information that you do not have. So God made women. God knows why he made women the way he made women. Like, a lot of times you have men, again, thinking that women should be like them and be more logical, and being impatient or irritated by women not being that way and being more emotional. They think that emotions are a problem. No, God made women more emotional for a reason. God made women, your divine partners, more emotional for a reason. So for you to deny the nature of a woman is for you to deny the design that God set up since the beginning of time for the right partner for you. Then your problem is not with women, it's with God. Like just like Adam said, it's not my fault. Look at the woman you sent me. You make now God is a problem, really? Okay. So the thing is that you need to go back and think. You need to go back and think. You need to go back and reflect. You need to go back and try to figure out what lesson are you missing? Because I guarantee you can't guarantee a lot of things, but I guarantee you God is not the problem. Yeah. And if he is a problem, then you're in trouble anyway. So because you can't change God, you can't make God do what you want. He's not a puppy, he's not a genie. So you still need to figure out and navigate the issue of having a God that's the problem. You still need to figure out the best way to navigate that whole situation. Because again, having that mentality is just gonna put you in a position to not grow because you've concluded what the issue is instead of like trying to discover what the issue is so that you can learn and grow as a person. So those two things. Number one, you need to figure out what's going on with you, and number two, you need to figure out exactly why God made men and women, because we're trying to tell people how to be things and we have no idea how to be ourselves. And so, but I'm getting to my 30 minutes here, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up, and I'm going to do a part 2 of this where I'm going to pick up and kind of go into, deeply into what I'm saying, because I do think this is important, and you guys are getting some free relationship coaching right here. We all need it. Relationships are essential. Under God, relationships is the second most important thing in life because it's going to determine your quality of life, your ability to grow, how you grow, when you grow, what you do with that growth. It comes from relationships. So thank you for tuning in this week for my part 1 of Battle of the Sexes. And I'm going to do another part of this next Friday at 12:30 p.m. So make sure you tune in. Set a reminder. You can set a reminder on YouTube to watch that. And send me your questions and your comments because this is really important. I want to address the things that people are dealing with in their everyday life because some of this stuff can be vague. And even the Bible, sometimes you're not sure how to apply it to your life. Come to me with your questions, email me your questions, comment with your questions, and I'll answer your specific issue that you're having in your own life when it comes to your relationships and what you can do to start carving out a path to improve on those things. So thank you so much for tuning in. And again, come back next week. Everybody be blessed. Bye.